I'm waiting on the live icon. Can you let me know when we're live?
Yes, I'm having some trouble. It says I don't have permission to live stream. Hold on a second.
Oh gosh.
That's the same issue I have. I can try it.
Okay, it's going, it's going.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our second anniversary conversation. I am so excited about our conversation tonight. I am Propulsion Magruder, the founder of Mob United. And first of all, I just have to say that I missed you all last week. So last Friday, July 7th, 2023 was our 7th Mob anniversary. It was the 7th anniversary of the day that this organization started. And as I always say, that this organization accidentally started because I wasn't trying to start an organization. I just did a Facebook post, it went viral, and here we are 7 years later, still advocating for protection of Black boys and men and for them to be seen as fully human. So we, as you probably know, if you've been following us, we focus on ensuring fair treatment of Black boys and men in all aspects of society. So although we started out focused on police brutality in the summer of 2016, and if you go back to that summer, that's when Sterling and Philando Castile was killed, and there were many after and before them, but we expanded our focus because we quickly realized, that's kind of the worst case scenario, what can happen to a Black male, and that throughout life, they're actually targeted, discriminated against, there's bias against them, and negative perceptions that really lead to a lot of these interactions. So we focus on the education, criminal justice, and mental health systems primarily, and trying to change negative perceptions to positive. And I have to say, our guests tonight are going to go a long way with that in terms of changing those perceptions. They're just superstars in their own right. So for this year's Mob anniversary celebration, we really wanted to highlight young Black men who are activists, change makers, artists who are making a difference and who are poised to make an even bigger difference. And in to talk, we nominated. But for this conversation, I woke up from my sleep in the middle of the night and said, I know exactly who I need to talk to. And I didn't tell you this, Aulston, but I thought of Malcolm first before you, because I'm like a Malcolm fan. Like I followed him on Facebook. I've been following him since he's been class president every year and hosting the show and the college search, all of that. So I thought of Malcolm. I was like, but wait a minute, if I talk to Malcolm, I have to talk to the head of St. Augustine. So that's why we're here. And I'll get into that more in a minute. But I wanted to say I missed you all last week because I was in Ghana. So I celebrated our Mob anniversary in Ghana. And on this day, 1 week ago, I was actually in Cape Coast touring the Slave River, where the slaves, before they became slaves, took their last bath, and at Cape Coast Castle and Slave Dungeon. So it's a deep rooting in our history and kind of the root of the dehumanization that we still face to this day. So I'm fresh out of that experience for this conversation, but so excited to be having this conversation. So I want to welcome our guests. We have Aulston Taylor, who is the president and CEO of St. Augustine School in New Orleans. And you're going to hear more about this iconic institution in just a few minutes and kind of what makes it such a special place. You're going to hear from Sean Paul Martin, who is a 2022 graduate of St. Augustine and was class valedictorian, and Malcolm Fairlett, who is a most recent graduate from 2023. And they're both recipients, I believe, of the Purple Knight Award. Is that right? So we're going to talk about that and what that means and how special that is. So before we get into it, Aulston, I just have to congratulate you first, because you recently had a very special event in your life. You got married, and it's wonderful. You married an AKA, so you made the right decision. You're gonna have a long, happy life, and I'm just so excited for you. So I was just wondering, like, if you don't mind, indulge us and just share some of these beautiful wedding photos, because it was a wedding of the year, star-studded event, and I think the people just need to see it.
No problem. Happy to do it. So I'll do a few scrolls. I'll
put the focus on my wife and her bridesmaids. Here you go. And here a few, I guess my guys. So he scrolled over to my groomsmen and I, my wife, and then if I could grab some in the reception, I'll show those real quick. Appreciate the shout out on the April 22nd wedding day. It was definitely a beautiful, beautiful day. It was Earth Day actually. So we won. The weather was absolutely amazing. 72 and sunny, as they say. All right, all these are reception photos. So let me get to us. Here we go. Here's a good one. There's another. All right, don't want to show the dance floor. No one cares about that. But you want to see the Pelsia. Are these popping up?
Yes, they are.
I know my wife is probably watching live and saying, Aulston, what are you doing? Please get off of this. This is too much. Anyway, it was a beautiful day. Thank you guys so much for thinking of us to show this while we're on some very important content. All right, here we go. I'll show you this last piece of Juvenile. Everybody loves Juvie. So we had Juvie at the wedding, at the after party, and he killed it. There you go.
He do high. It's my favorite Juvenile song.
Say it again.
High.
Here's the shot. There you go. Black excellence.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
So I think that the Pelsia is having a little bit of technical difficulty. So I'm Kim Alexander. I'm actually coming to you today from my temporary home in Las Vegas. So the Pelsia started out by just talking about Black excellence at St. Augustine. So Aulston, I'm going to shoot over to you and just have you tell the story, how you came in contact with St. Augustine, what brought you there, and just your journey there and your philosophy at the school.
Thank you, Kim. So I'll start off of the Pelsia's wake up in the middle of the night was absolutely perfect to think of Malcolm versus me. I do see Malcolm as the president of St. Augustine High School in 25 years if he chooses to do the job. And so because of that, her thoughts were right on of thinking of Malcolm and St. Aug. So I'll start with that. St. Augustine High School, a pillar in the community city of New Orleans for 72 years, founded and created in 1951, a school that was born out of a growing population of Black Catholics in the city of New Orleans. And there was no school for Black boys that was Catholic or of Catholic traditions at the time. And so created in 51, doors opened up August 26, 1951. Since that time, we went on to have over 9,300 graduates. And these two young men who are recent of the class of 2022 and 2023 are great representations of who we are, what we represent, and what the outcomes can be. St. Aug is not a school when you think of private equals privilege. Many people hear the word Catholic and private and they think of privilege. However, it is not. We have four types of young men in our school. When I think of socioeconomic backgrounds, 99% of the boys are African American, 1% is Hispanic. And if I give 1%, that's if there's 605 boys, 1 to 2 are Hispanic descent, right? And so the work that we do crosses all of these socioeconomic backgrounds. They come from everywhere. They come from almost an hour every single day and then leave going back an hour every day. But when they get on the grounds of St. Augustine High School, we treat them all the absolute same. No young man gets privilege. No young man gets something different than the other person. And that's really what binds us together, and it gets this brotherhood created as they go off into their college days, go into the workforce, and become leaders. My journey with St. Aug really started in 2006, right after Hurricane Katrina, when I realized that my talent and treasure that I was growing in New York City, that I needed to use it for good. And how do I use it for good? By giving back to a place that I love. And so the light bulb went off for me when I was 26 to start using my relationships, resources, and people that believe in me to believe in it. And when I say it, the school. And so I started giving back. I started to think about ways to do it in an impactful way. And that just stuck with me. And I continue to do things from afar. But in 2018, while working at Viacom, I was at BET. DePelsh and I had a little short stint there together. Didn't really know each other at the time when we worked at Viacom. But during my time working in ad sales, marketing, and partnerships at BET, I received New Business Salesperson of the Year award from my department in October of 2018. And it made me think about, okay, I've got this award, seems great. I can continue to do good work, get promoted, make some more money, and feel good. And on the other hand, I said, or I can realize I've done great, close this chapter, go back home and do work for the school. And at that year, that time, I was celebrating my 20th anniversary. And I came home, celebrated with my class, then talked to the then president, Dr. Kenneth St. Charles, and I said, I want to come home. And coming home meant that I would be taking a $311,000 pay cut. And I looked myself in the mirror and I said, am I ready to do that? Obviously I did. And so we worked up a set of responsibilities and the role for me in the development department. I resigned from BET in January of 2019. I moved home to New Orleans on January 17, 2019. I started the job on February 1st. And it probably was the absolute greatest decision I've ever made in my career, in my life, because I knew what I was walking into. And the moment I walked into the school in 2019, Malcolm was in 8th grade, Sean Paul Martin was in 9th grade. And I didn't nurture relationships with Sean Paul over a 4-year period, but I did nurture a relationship with Malcolm over his 5-year period. However, I treat them both the same way the school culture is, but they know that I'm always there. And in my 4 years of being at the school, I enjoyed the success that the school has had, but most importantly, it's been beautiful for me to witness nearly 400 African-American males cross a graduation stage and go on to college and continue to find their path. And as the president for the past 2 years, I have witnessed 186 young men graduate, go off to college, and know that they can always call home when they need resources and support. So that's it for me. I am thrilled to be here on this 7-year anniversary, especially with DePelsh, who saw something, did something about it, and is continued to live on. And I am thankful to be able to have my boys here with me that I know will represent and share their story, because they have unique, beautiful, amazing stories that they continue to become leaders.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that, Aulston. I want to shoot over to the boys for a second. I'm going to start with Malcolm. You know, the school, what Aulston said about the school and young men who are not always privileged. I saw you shaking your head and saying, you know, that is not everyone's story. And so I just want to hear more about your story. What got you to St. Aug, and what was that 5 years like for you?
Okay, so I have a pretty unique story myself. St. Augustine High School is a legacy for me. It started back in 1959, I believe, with my mother's uncle, Melvin Parent, started the Parent Legacy for us. And then my grandfather, Eric Farrellet, attended St. Augustine High School along with my other grandfather, my mother's father, and just continuing then. I'm a third generation Purple Knight. I'm very proud of that. And so I knew that when I attended St. Augustine, I would have some really, really big shoes to fill. But the other side of that story is that my mother and I talked about this, was that a unique thing happened about 2 years before I attended St. Augustine High School. Donald Trump was elected president of the United States. And I started to see a shift in the way that things were at my old school. I went to a PWI for 8 years of my life, and I started to really see people show their true feelings and racism towards African Americans. And I knew that I needed a change, and I wanted to see other people that looked like me, particularly more Black men, excel in all areas. So when I decided to leave St. Augustine, I knew what I was getting into, but I really did not know what I was getting into. I was like, I know what St. Aug is, I know about the band, a little bit about speech and debate, a little bit about FBLA, but not too much. So when people ask, did you know you were going to do all that you did when you got there? The answer is no. Absolutely not. After my first day, I got to meet people. I got to learn a little bit about the school, and I read something, and one of my teachers, may she rest in peace, Miss Sharon Hudson Nephew, said, there's an award at the end of your graduation year called the Purple Knight Award. And she kind of explained that it goes to a person who excels in all areas with academics and extracurricular activities. She said, one of my boys in this class is getting that award. And I went home that day immediately and I said, Mama, I want the Purple Knight Award. So I really didn't know what it would take to get there. And so I decided just to create my own story. I'd seen what other people had done before to get it, but I knew that I wanted to follow along their tracks, but do something different. St. Augustine gave me the opportunity to go to the White House in January, attend in the foreign exchange program in St. Denis, France, along with many other meeting great people, going on Fox News, talking about my experiences, a class of Black men who had
Did we lose Malcolm? Well, while he comes back up, I'm going to shoot over to Sean Paul. Sean Paul, tell us a little bit about your story.
Sure. So I'll start off my story. So I was born and raised in New Orleans to a single mother, the youngest of 5 children. I have 4 sisters, which are 4 too many, and 4 older sisters at that. And so when I first started my 8th grade year, I started to attend all these different open houses and went to all these different schools. I went to my elementary school was a Catholic school as well. And so I was looking at other Catholic potential high schools to attend. And so I went to all these different open houses and I was wowed by this one school. I was amazed by the campus. I actually mentioned this in my my valedictorian address. I was amazed by the campus, and I was just like, Mom, I want to go to this school. I want to go to this school. And so applied and started the summer enrichment program at this school. And I just didn't like it. It's a predominantly white institution, high school. I just didn't like the school at all. And so I wound up going for my 8th grade year. I went to a charter school. And so at the end of my 8th grade year, my aunt had to key back in on Malcolm's comment about the legacy. My aunt, her husband, who recently came into her life my 8th grade year, the end of my 8th grade year, he's a Purple Knight himself, Blair Velto. And so he's diehard, bleeds purple and gold. And so he came to me, he said, he's always had St. Aug in the back of my mind. But at this point, going into my 9th grade, my freshman year, he really pushed St. Aug into my head. And so I was like, all right, let's see what St. Aug's about. And so I looked into St. Aug, was just truly admired the purpose of the school, the history of the school, the legacy. And that led me to attend open house and then apply, was accepted. And then that started my journey at St. Aug. However, right before I started my time at St. Aug, all throughout elementary school, I was always at the top of my class. And I always attribute the entire credit to my mom. She was a school teaching mother who raised me by herself. And since a very, very young age, she instilled in me the very significance of education and the power in school. And so since a kid, school was always my top priority. And right before I started my time at St. Aug, my mom actually went into a coma for 2 years, unfortunately. And so she went into a coma in 2018, and then in 2020 she actually passed. And so that was a tough time, you know, not having that my backbone all throughout my 4 years at St. Aug. However, the preparation she and all the effort she put into me over my beginning years, and as I matured throughout my elementary school years, that carried me on into where I am today, and then successfully finishing St. Aug at the top of my class, and also winning the revered Purple Knight Award along with Malcolm the following year. And so throughout my years at St. Aug, an exceptional school that truly embraced me since my first day on campus. The brotherhood is second to none. It's something that can never be denied, and something that I probably most appreciate. And an extension of that brotherhood are the connections that the school have and the alumni support. And so you see me here with this tie, I have my suit jacket here. I'm actually interning in New Orleans, graduate, I believe 98, not sure, Mr. Damon Burns. And so this internship was extended to me through St. Aug and the brotherhood that we have. I'm currently a rising sophomore at the University of Notre Dame, which was largely led by the efforts of Mr. Taylor and the history of the school and all the Purple Knights before me who have attended Notre Dame, that has created this alliance between, and this network between Notre Dame and St. Aug that has allowed myself and fellow Purple Knights to attend such an illustrious institution. And while I'm at Notre Dame, I'm currently studying finance, majoring in finance with a minor in real estate. And in 2.5 years, I'm in hopes of breaking into the world of investment banking. With the priority, I'm really focusing on getting into the real estate sectors of investment banking. Most predominantly, I'm really looking at, you know, the big banks to really make an impact and difference in this world. You know, the Goldman Sachs, the Morgan Stanleys, the Deloitte banks of this world. And so, but to this day, I owe all credit to St. Aug for preparing me for where I am today, my mother for carrying me through the years at St. Aug, and for all my just incredible support system throughout the years that have led me to be on this talk show today, speaking with you guys.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I want to congratulate you on just creating your own legacy. I hear you, both of you guys, talk about the legacy that was given to you, that was left to you, but you honor your mom's memory and have begun to create your own legacy in what it is that you're doing. Because the camaraderie and the community that St. Aug has created for you boys has been so beneficial and sacred to you, tell me about your plans to reach back once you guys get to where you're going. Malcolm, I'll start with you. Where do you see yourself participating in St. Aug legacy moving forward?
I think one of the first things I want to do as an alum now, I'll be attending the University of Southern California in Los Angeles to study journalism and minor in screenwriting. I think what I want to do is bring back the Purple Knight legacy to the West Coast. If you go back to St. Aug history in like the 60s and 70s, you did see a good bit of Purple Knights. And still to this day, if you see some older ones that are in California or just on the West Coast period, and just bringing them to see the options that are out there. It took a lot of guts for me to even consider going to the West Coast. Howard University was my top choice, but my mother pulled me to the side, and even as an alum of Howard, she said, you got to do your own thing at some point. So I decided, let's take a leap of faith. So I want to encourage more Purple Knights to take other leaps of faith, even though staying close to home and a comfort zone is amazing. I think just doing something different and out of the ordinary will bring St. Aug even bigger on the map and back to what it used to be back in the 1960s and 70s.
Okay. And what about you, Sean Paul?
So yes, can you please reiterate the question? My computer cut out when you said it.
That's fine. I said the legacy that St. Aug afforded you guys has been very instrumental in where you are today. How do you plan on giving back to the St. Aug community?
Sure. So first off, once I have a son, there's no option for any other school for him to attend. St. Aug will be embedded in him forever, and that he will be a Purple Knight once he comes out. And so that's my first goal. Secondly, I currently have a $25,000 endowment fund that was awarded in my name at St. Aug by a generous donor of the school, Mr. Richard Volk, who was inspired by my story after I graduated, and just he took the initiative to put this endowment fund in my name so that other families who I can support other families financially so that their sons also have the opportunity to attend St. Aug. And so that is just something that he started that I am just destined to finish off throughout the rest of my life. And so, of course, there's the monetary value in which, I'm to give back to St. Aug, but also just in my efforts. A big part of St. Aug is the mentorship. Mr. Taylor, a great mentor of mine who has followed me since we've met. And even after I've left St. Aug, for crying out loud, this is his tie right here. And mentorship is something that creates ways that are usually unavailable for kids our age and that look like us. And so that's another big part of just putting my efforts and pouring back into the community that poured into me through mentorship and Black education.
Absolutely.
Tim,
So,
can I add a few items on this?
yes, absolutely.
So what Malcolm was sharing in regards to when he moves to the West Coast is resurrecting our alumni chapter that used to be in Los Angeles in the 60s and the 70s. Right now, we have 9 alumni chapters across the United States, 2 in New Orleans, Houston, Atlanta, Dallas, DC, Cincinnati, New York, and Baton Rouge. And it's made up of alums that live inside these areas. And so the LA chapter kind of went away only due to guys getting older, losing time, not being able to put forth the effort. So his thoughts is to go there, resurrect it, find all of the alums in the Los Angeles area and bring them together, which is a key factor of the brotherhood, of the supporting the school and getting socially, I would say social currency, right? Those pockets of people that know you and understand where you come from based off of this one place, that social currency has ripple effects to continue to support the school and professional development for folks that may live in Los Angeles. With Sean Paul of his endowment fund, Mr. Richard Volk saw the opportunity of helping and assisting Sean Paul to stay connected to St. Aug forever and doing something that someone else did for him. There is an alum of ours, Mr. Ray Fritz, class of 1963, who supported 65% of Sean Paul's tuition all 4 years when he was at St. Aug. And so that was already planted in Sean Paul before he left. A generous donor saw an opportunity, just literally brought it to us to say, I'm going to do this for him. And now he has an endowment to where he's going to support a young person who's coming into the school or already exists at the school with a $1,250 scholarship a year toward their $10,600. That's the 4.5% that's going to come off of his $25,000 that'll live forever inside our endowment investment account. And so those are the unique, beautiful ways of how we continue the legacy of our school. But there are many people that buy into the work that we're doing. And Mr. Richard Volk is one of those amazing blessings to the school that have supported us in the last year and a half.
Absolutely. That's a great way to continue to give back and give opportunity. Aulston, I want to ask you, when you were talking about the moment you made the switch and decided to come home as you describe it, what I heard was you chose purpose and promise over pay. And that had to have been a huge decision. Can you go back to that for a moment and just talk more about what it was that St. Aug did for you that you would make that decision.
Can make no mistake about it. I would love the 3 Ps to work all the time. The purpose, promise, and the pay. Sometimes it don't always work out. You know, my mom, when I made a decision to go to St. Aug as a young person, my mom looked at me and was like, okay, I don't know how we gonna do it, but we gonna do it. And so I watched my mom work 2.5 jobs all 4 years when I was at the school. When I would come, well, during the day, she would work at a bank in customer service. And then in the evening, when I would be coming home from baseball or football practice, she would be leaving out to go be a ticket taker at the Sanger Theater at night as I was coming in. And she would tell me, your food's in the refrigerator or your food is in the microwave. I'll see you when I get home. And so my mom would miss out on the quality time from 7 o'clock to call it 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, because from 7 o'clock to 9:30, she was at the next job. And then on the weekends, on a Saturday, you would find her sweeping up a dental office for probably an hour and a half, 2 hours. And so that was never lost on me as I grew up and I continued to think about the things that I wanted for my life. And in addition, the school paid 1/3 of my tuition. So my mom paid 1/3, the school paid 1/3, my godparents paid 1/3 for me to be able to be there. At the time, the tuition was $3,200. Now it's $10,600. But that $3,200 in 1994 to 1998 was still a good bit of money at the time. And so those moments, those times were never lost on me. My time of working in the cafeteria during lunch period to pay for my tuition through the financial aid the school was giving me was never lost on me. And so as I grew older, I always knew that I would be a person that would be a change agent. I didn't know if I would be a person putting change into the community or being an agent of change in the building. And I've toggled with the two my entire life. I'm comfortable with doing both, but I think ultimately what God had in my steps and ordered it for me was to be where I am today. And when I came home in 2019, I did not come into the school as the president. I came into the role as the school's fundraiser and as chief development officer, which I was proud to represent. And lo and behold, 2.5 years later, my predecessor, he resigned, and I didn't know he would resign. I didn't think he would resign. And believe it or not, in the same week that he resigned in April of 2021, I was having a little bit of doubts because I had to tap into my 401k a month prior because I wasn't able to afford to live back at home on this salary that I was making, which was under 6 figures, and knowing that, when I was in New York City, that I was making a substantial amount of money. And so I tapped into my 401k, and then I started having conversation with people that believed in me, and I actually got a job offer the same week that my boss had resigned, and that job offer was $790,000 a year.
Wow.
And I said, as much as I want to take this job, I'll let the place remain nameless right now, but it's a huge company. But what I decided was, I said, God, you brought me here. We've done good work. Is my time up? And have I ran my race, or is there more? And when my boss resigned, and then the board came to me and said, hey, we want to make you interim president. And I was like, wow, okay, I got a decision to make. $790,000, go back into the corporate world, or step up as interim president, do this great work. The vision that I've had for a long time, activated underneath my watch, and do great work for these young men. And obviously, I chose to stay, and I buckled up, and my team who's been assembled with me, and the team that continues to grow, they follow the vision, and they have been absolutely lights out extraordinary with us putting up great results.
So that's a new definition of get the bag, right? We hear that a lot now in 2023 is get the bag, but getting the bag doesn't necessarily always have to mean the coin. It could certainly mean getting the purpose and getting the promise, and also giving back to the community. One of the basic premises of Moms of Black Boys United is changing perception. And like DePelcia said in her introduction, you guys are certainly doing that. We know we talk a lot about the school to prison pipeline and how there is just such disparity between how Black men and boys are treated in the schoolhouse, how they're disciplined, what resources they have in terms of just being able to be kids, ages and stages, and making mistakes and being given and granted grace. So I would like all of you guys to answer how you view that. We all get in trouble sometimes. What sticks out to you, Malcolm and Sean Paul, on the discipline process and what you have access to and your ability to just be human at St. Aug?
Sure, I'll go first. One part I'll talk about with the discipline of St. Aug that I believe makes it very unique is the one for all motto, and it kind of always, everything links back to the brotherhood, us, falling for our brother. And so there have been countless times throughout my 4 years at St. Aug where I've been held accountable for the actions of another student. And especially in my beginning years, it was exceedingly frustrating. Like, just shut up, bro. There's stuff like that, he's like, come on, just stop, why you gotta do all that? And so, but over the years, it creates a bond with each other because you realize that you're not just there for yourself and you're not just an individual within this larger network. You are the network. And so throughout the years, that's what has cultivated our brotherhood today, is that, you're not going to do something that 30 other kids that you're going to put not just yourself in trouble with, but 30 other students that you call your brother. And so that's something that's really makes St. Aug unique, is the fact that, it's the one for all motto. And then also it's the being very meticulous and caring about the small details, such as wearing a belt every day, making sure your tie is all the way up, and small things like making sure your shoes are tied and don't come with a dirty shirt, stuff like that carries on to today. I actually received a compliment last week from a lady in my office. I work at a finance agency currently, and she was saying, she said, you must love to dress up, huh? And I said, yeah, it's just, it's in my nature. And that's something that was definitely has manifested in me through St. Aug. And so that would be my answer.
Okay, Malcolm?
So one thing that I love about St. Augustine High School, and it's something that I think learned more about as I was on my way to graduation, was that St. Augustine High School's faculty is, of course, more than 50% alumni, but before they even became teachers, they lived real life experiences. And I think one thing that St. Augustine teaches is that you can learn academics, you can learn this and that, but if you don't know how the real world works, and when you walk into it, you're going to be screwed. And so I think when teachers, like if a class will do something, a teacher, instead of disciplining us, they'll tell us about a scenario when either them or another classmate of theirs went through something similar and how they ended up in not such a good predicament afterwards. So then it would be like, do you want to end up like them, or do you want to learn and then end up somewhere better? So I think when you have particularly Black men that are looking out for you and just a whole group of people, it takes a village to raise a child, and having that village that, instead of automatically branding you as bad and really showing you that even though, this has happened and we've seen it before, we want it to stop. And in stopping there, we're going to show you the better ways of doing it. So I think with people living those experiences and you hearing it from someone who you see as a father figure or an uncle or something like that, makes you feel better and not wanting to do it even more. So that's the part of discipline that I love about it.
So Aulston, I'll ask you to chime in, because I think one of the things that we see a lot of is that if you're not Black and a model student, sometimes you kind of get pushed under the rug. And we see in mentoring relationships, the harder kids have a lot more trouble, those who are willing and wanting. How do you reach the unpolished? How do you reach that boy who has experienced trauma, has been through things, and is now coming to you and you're looking to mentor them? What is your philosophy, and what is the overall school philosophy on discipline for your students?
Well, so we are very strict. Let me start there. There is a code of where we are just really on them. But we know that what comes out on the other side is going to be the most beautiful diamond that possibly it can become. And so I talk about this all the time when I tell people in the city, you guys see the final product and the outcome. You don't see the 36 to 48 to 60 months of work that goes into all of our young men prior to them coming out on the other side. And so there have been many times when we've had to make the decision to remove young men because you don't want to have one bad apple spoil the whole bunch. And when I say that, I mean, this past school year, we removed 32 young men. I would say about 25 of the 32 was due to behavioral issues. And it happens. They have so much access to so much, from their phones to going to the corner store and just probably grabbing a substance abusive product like what we might think is friendly and fun as a vape pen. It's a no, right? And so those things happen and we have a low toleration of it. Now, we'll do our best to then show them the effects of it, provide them with professional development to showcase what it does to your body or what something will do to you if you go down that path, like Malcolm said. But we believe in protecting our culture at all costs. I will say, going back to the Purple Knight Award that they mentioned earlier, these are the type of ways of how a student ends up earning the Purple Knight Award: academics, extracurricular, social, being able to be that person that people look up to and say, he's the model student, he's the model Purple Knight. And the two of them exemplified that in their time, not just in 1 year, not in two, but in their entire career of being at the school. And so as you think about the word discipline, I want to share some of our graduates, and I want you to think about it from the mindset of discipline, not ability. Many people can play sports, many people can be musicians, many people can go become lawyers, judges, doctors, but it takes a certain level of discipline to be able to be good, great, and extraordinary. And we have put over 150 men in Ivy League schools. And on the flip side of that coin, we have placed and had 43 graduates play in the NFL. I want you to think about that. You got the smartest of the smart around the country that goes to Ivies. You have the jocks of the jocks that want to go play into the pros. And we have had almost 78 graduates that have played professional ball, with 43 of the 78 being in the NFL. And then when you go into musicianship, we have countless guys that are high-level A-list performers, guys who are street performers, guys, when you guys call and say, I want to get a beautiful second line, I can guarantee you if you call 10 second line bands, that of the 10, at least 8 of the 10 will have Purple Knights that are scattered within those bands. While it can be talent, it's discipline too. And it takes the discipline to be able to continue to perform and continue to show up. And so John Baptiste as a musician, PJ Martin as a musician, Jay Electronica as a musician, Diesel, behind the scenes producers, athletics, Tyron Matthew, the Honey Badger, Fournette, then when you think of when it comes to civic duty, we currently have 2 state senators right now in the state of Louisiana. We have former mayors, former fire chief of police, former chief of fire. And so I share that because that's the beauty of the school. Do you think of men that have come from a place not just to go to school, but to understand that they're on a training ground for leadership, and we're setting them up to get to that next level? Is it always beautiful and rosy? No, I just told you we put 28 points out for behavior, right? And so we have shenanigans, but we do our best to mitigate it and get our young men back on the right path to know that when they graduate, that there's a future for you to go out and go conquer, to be able to be the best you can be and give back to the next generation so they can repeat the beautiful cycle of leadership and success.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's a great philosophy. So, Malcolm, Sean Paul shared what's next for him. What are your long-term plans? Where do you see yourself in the next couple of years?
Well, in the next couple of years, that's a tough one. I'm a person that believes that where God, wherever He wants me to be, I will be. But in my mind, where I will be in the next couple of years is hopefully graduating from college. I'm going to speak that into existence, going to law school to follow in the footsteps of both of my grandparents. Sometime in the line, giving to St. Augustine might not be $100,000 checks right out of law school or college, but just making small donations, making sure that the St. Augustine tradition continues and that it becomes even more of the best school in the world, and giving everyone the opportunity to attend by becoming a boarding school. That is one thing I do have in mind that I hope that the school does take on in the future. Hopefully becoming a legal analyst on CNN to explain the laws of the land to people who don't understand laws. It's many times when people go on television and you see different trials and people don't understand what laws mean what. I want to explain those to people and to always be active in the community. The community raises us and sometimes we don't give back. I want to be one of those people to give back, much like Mr. Taylor did for us.
Absolutely. Sean Paul, tell us about where you see yourself after graduation from college. Where do you want to end up?
Sure, I'll share that again. So following graduation, I would like to, like I said, break into the world of investment banking, hopefully in the real estate side of things. Whereas, it's different from, commercial or any other type of banking, because I think it's much more intimate, where you're able to see, your tangible assets and things of that nature. And so that's why I really appreciate the internship I'm working with currently, where it's a finance agency, but what we're doing is we have a quasi-governmental structure, whereas we provide affordable housing for the city of New Orleans. And so having that community impact is something that's really important to me, a job that holds some sort of benevolence within it. And so, like I said, going forward, I would like to go into investment banking. And so that's why these next couple summers will be critical for me, as the recruiting is very early and very aggressive throughout my college years. And I'll also go back on to something Mr. Taylor and Malcolm was expressing about just the discipline and having all of these just countless alumni who are successful in their own respective careers. It's really, one word I'll attribute to it is very empowering. And so seeing other successful Black men who look just like me, having the example of being capable of doing things that, as a kid, I wasn't always sure that I was personally capable of, but knowing that I had the same foundation, the same platform as them, truly empowers me and inspires me to go further and to empower the youngins behind me who are following me, who are also at St. Aug. And not just at St. Aug, because St. Aug is, as Mr. Taylor opened it up, is really a pillar in the city of New Orleans. And so the success of St. Aug is largely contributes to the success of the Black community. And so, me having the integrity myself and having that drive to always knowing that whatever I accomplish will empower those that follow behind me. And so I will always tell all people, my two largest drivers in life would be that, which was empowered into me through St. Aug, is to give back and to be successful in myself so that others may follow. And then the second, of course, being my mother.
Okay. So I want to shoot back to Malcolm for a minute. You got cut off earlier. You started talking about the things that impacted you being at St. Aug and some of the obstacles that you had experienced in life. Tell us more about what those things were, what impacted you, and then let us know what advice you have to those behind you.
Okay, so I'll go from as early as to a time when I can't remember. I was born to two parents, one being one that wasn't supposed to be here. My father was very early diagnosed with a autoimmune disorder called Neuroboschet's, and it took him a long time to really figure out what was really wrong, going through many months of chemotherapy, many brain surgeries, and knowing that he might not be here. This hasn't really been something I've expressed, but the fear still today of him being sick and going back to a time where he was having a lot of seizures and him just being physically present, but not mentally there. Something that has always crossed my mind, and knowing that going to St. Augustine, living his legacy and going to be a part of something that he has always expressed to me that was so important to him because his father too left a legacy for him to fall behind. I knew that that was really important for me as well. And that was one obstacle. And then another was being told by a teacher in the 4th grade that I could not read and that I really couldn't be anything that I wanted to be in life, when I knew that at St. Augustine, I was told that the sky was the limit for me. So going to an institution that empowered me, going back to Sean Paul's words, instead of tearing me down, and now saying, I'm here, and I'm so glad I made the choice to go. And so the advice for everyone is that don't let anybody, and I mean anybody, tell you what you can and can't be. And that your story, no matter what your trials and tribulations have been, your past, that's not the end. God decides when the end is. It's your opportunity to choose where you want to end up, who you associate yourself with, and of course, what high school you go to. And hopefully that will be the St. Augustine High School.
Sean Paul, what advice do you have for those coming behind you?
So all that follow, I would definitely say to appreciate the journey you're on and understand that it is unique and that everyone encounters something that is very particular to them that builds the person that they eventually become later on in life. And so I would really emphasize to them to not focus on the end result, but rather really cherish and appreciate the journey that you're on, because that's really what makes it special, and that's really what matters. And like Mr. Taylor was saying, you know, you guys see the outcome, but you guys don't really see the 48 months or whatever it is of preparation that the kids go through. And throughout those 48 months and those thereafter, really appreciate every single moment, the good and the bad, and stay within the moment. Because if you're so focused on where you're going to get and what do you want to achieve in life, you lose out on the just true beauty of everyday life and grinding for you know what you want in life.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Aulston, I'm going to switch the question up just a little bit for you. I'm going to ask you, what advice do you have for those who are beside you? So your actual generation, those who are making purpose and promise decisions over pay decisions, and those who are looking for ways to give back, or those who are not, what advice do you have to other Black successful men on how they can help the generations behind us?
Part of it is finding your passion. You know, I think people think folks are born with their passion in front of them. It's not. It comes with experience, and it takes time. Some people reach it earlier than most. And I was lucky to be able to find a passion of mine that was early on, which is to give back while doing good. And the work that I could do, that I was blessed to be able to have ability in, can reconnect in a way that supports the community. I love that. That's how I will live my entire life, no matter where I am. And so a guy who's 43 years old, who probably makes, I don't know, 750,000 a year, 600,000 a year, 50,000 a year. Find what you believe in. Know that your efforts will be noticed by someone in that organization or in that neighborhood, and just do it. You know, people think they need to have a title to make impact. Titles don't just make impact, it's effort. And if you put forth the effort, and if it's something that you have thought about that you know you can do, just do it. Just do it. I like, there's no, as much as Nike has coined that phrase, it is one of the most endearing 3 words a person can live by. Just do it.
All right. We're going to try and see if the Pelcher can come back on for a moment and just give closing remarks.
Hello, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Perfect.
See me? Okay. I have been listening the whole time, but I've been going back and forth between 3 different devices as my internet went in and out. The internet devil is busy today. But it's been a beautiful conversation, and Kim was meant to host it because she got so many great insights out of all of you. And I just want to thank you all again for being a part of this and being here. You're going to inspire a lot of other young men through this conversation. It's live now, but we're going to share it again and again so that others can be blessed and learn from you. And I just want to applaud St. Aug and you, Aulston. I want to applaud you, Sean Paul and Malcolm. And we can't wait to see what you do. Like, I know you're both going to do amazing and great things. And, you know, my final question would just be, how can we help you? How can we help the school? And how can we help each of you individually in getting to where you want to be in life and making your dreams come true?
John Paul, how now this, we talked about this earlier. Be real specific with knowing the people you're on the phone with. How can Mob United help you?
So like I said, I'm in Notre Dame's College of Business. And so a large aspect of business is all about who you know and your network. And so I would ask Mob United to connect me with people who are capable of securing me a summer internship in these incoming years with the large investment banks of the world today, such as Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and Deloitte Bank.
Sounds good. Send me your resume. I know the head of diversity for former head of diversity at Goldman Sachs and a few other banks.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
See what I'm saying? Closed mouths don't get fed. Malcolm.
The first I'm going to ask for is prayer. I want all the Black moms to pray for us, guide us. Prayer is something that gets me alive through everything. And if there are any opportunities in journalism and law in any areas across the country, I would love to connect with anyone possible, especially a Mob United member or anyone who's willing to help a Black man from New Orleans get to the next level.
Amen. Got it. And yes, prayer is something we believe in too. We have something called United in Prayer, where we periodically pray, you know, globally, but also pray specifically for certain situations and sons in our organizations. So we will definitely be lifting all of you up in prayer and helping to find opportunities for you too, Malcolm. So thank you all. Any closing remarks that anyone wants to give before we wrap up?
I will. I would love to. Thank you. This has been a beautiful blessing. Not because we're alive and we're on and we're able to share stories, but you created a community that people come to. They know they'll get good inspiration. They know that they can count on this group Mob United to provide new insight on how we all are living with boys of color. And so moms of boys of Black boys of color, mothers of Black boys. Make sure I get that right. I am very thankful for all of the moms that are a part of your group. I want you to know that you can count on us as a school to support. If there's things you guys are doing that's separate and apart, invitation or special events, call on us to support. We have a lot of Black boys, and so it only makes sense for us to show up and support. If that is us giving a monetary donation to the organization, we are happy to do that. If that is us having boys on site to come and work events, if we can pull it off and have them present, we would love to do that. And just think of us in many ways of when you're activating of how we could show up and be an extension of demonstrating the leading example of moms of Black boys. We're here, we're in, let us know.
How do we find you?
www.staugnola.org, staugnola.org is our website. You can call our school 504-944-2424. Even if you just want to call and tell the front receptionist that you love the work we're doing, we welcome that. And on IG and Facebook, all of our social handles is STAUGNOLA. You can find us on all of the platforms and follow us, please, please, please. We put out great content. We're pushing something out every single day, from a kid who's at a pre-college scholars program at Syracuse or Exeter summer program at Philip Exeter in New Hampshire to Xavier. We're pushing out content constantly, not just when we are in school, but also in the summertime. So follow us. And most importantly, if you find yourself in New Orleans, just come to the school and say, you heard us on a Mob United session. I want to come by and see it for myself. Ask for me, and we're happy to give you a tour and showcase to you the work that we're doing with 605 boys every single day.
Yeah, I definitely have to get down there. I want the tour. And I also want everyone to watch the 60 Minutes special that was done on the school. I don't know if you mentioned that earlier, but I believe it was a couple of years ago, there was a 60 Minutes story and talk about the peak of journalism, Malcolm. Like, it's very hard to get a profile on 60 Minutes. And there was one on St. Aug that I thought was very inspiring.
Awesome. Yes. If you Google it, just put in best band in the land, and next to it 60 Minutes, and it'll pop up. It's a 12-minute and 45-second piece. So I think it's content worth viewing that you won't feel like you wasted 12 minutes and 45 seconds of your day. And when you see our alums and you hear about our alums, just know that they are a great representation of us. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Depelsha, do you have anything else to add?
No, I think that's it. Thank you all so much. We really appreciate you, and we will continue to lift you up and pray for you and look for ways to partner and support. This is not our last conversation.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Sorry. We will
Thank you. I'm sorry.
No
no
worries. We will
Thank you so
continue to highlight young men and boys in the community who are change agents, who are change makers, who are giving back to the community for the rest of July and actually for months to follow. So if you have anyone who you want to highlight, please go to the Mob United webpage so that you can submit them and nominate them to us. But continue to follow us, continue to follow the rest of our programming. And thank you for joining us this afternoon. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Kim.